5 years ago in Kangen Omega, Naden said to Lu Dong right before he died, "Be careful, don't trust Nicholas." Now in current Kangen Omega, we finally understand the truth of this statement. I guess better late than never. Right now, we are experiencing potentially the biggest arc of the entire Kangen Omega story, the Battle Royale tournament for the sake of defeating the one and only the Connector Shen Wulong. Everyone's gone through their insane training arcs. We have people like Tokita Oma stronger than ever before, the return of Kuroki Gensai and many others. But apart from that, we have the storyline between the two Nicholases returning as well and being the current focus within this Battle Royale. That's right, their long-awaited rematch and a potential conclusion to this aspect of the Kangen Omega story. Let's break down the truth of the confusing situation, to leave it at an understatement. So, Jean-Luc and Nicholas Lee Banner long ago were part of the French army, particularly a special force where they became friends. But the truth about Nicholas was that he's a Worm member. He's officially participating in this Battle Royale as a guest invited by Yan, meaning his position within the Worm's hierarchy isn't exactly as a direct subordinate. However, his role probably has some other purpose considering his titling. For example, the Tiger Nico is also regarded as a guest, but I'm imagining he's more important than the likes of Nicholas here. But this explains why Naden back in the day to his real friend Lu Dong said don't trust Nicholas due to the whole sus situation going on there, and how he's a direct subordinate and may have been aware of Nicholas's involvement, at least the real one, highlighting once again that Naden has ended up being one of the most important characters introduced in the Kangen Omega story. This is mostly due to his impact on Garoki and that continued narrative throughout. His loyalty to the Connector, with that first being brought up by him, likely part of the group that viewed Shen Wulong as a god, why he was so easily able to give up his life. And now this whole storyline between the two Nicholases and I guess the purpose of Tarashi also connecting to Naden. Naturally, also considering his goated design, one of the best looking newly introduced Kangen characters, and remains as a goat with his Mongolian wrestling. And speaking about that, have any of you guys been watching Physical Asia? The final episode just came out and I got done watching it, seeing who actually won the competition. At the start, naturally I was rooting for Team Australia, but of course by the end of it I was rooting for Mongolia, and probably was one of my favourite teams participating. Let me know your thoughts on that Netflix series if you ended up watching it down in the comments. Perhaps scripted and I'd guess the most predictable winner, but it is what it is. Back to Kangen Omega stuff, which by the way, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe here on Mysterious Weeb. I have all the Kangen content you need, all in one playlist linked on the channel or at the end of today's video, so make sure you watch until then. So the truth about the Nicholas situation is the following. While both of them were in the special forces, the Worm Nicholas committed a mass slaughter of various civilians and the other special force members, likely a task appointed to him by the Worm, or maybe before he even became a Worm member, bro's this evil to begin with, resulting in a clash between these two, where we originally thought that Luke was the winner of the battle. However, that is not the case. The Worm Nicholas absolutely destroyed him, but he did not kill his friend in the situation. That's what resulted in Luke to pretty much abandon his current self and become the new Nicholas Lee Banner, the character we've seen throughout the story participating in the Kangen vs Purgatory tournament facing Akoya, highlighting that bro is absolutely schizo and only recently has fully returned to his original self, you could say. That's why the whole aspect has been confusing, and him looking incredibly similar to the real Nicholas when he pretty much became him in a sense. With the worm Nicholas being just shocked about that situation, hearing that his name, he was supposedly fighting in underground martial arts in Japan, with him likely being a worm member based in France. But as these two meet for the first time in all these years, we also have Lu Dong here, who has his own beef with the real Nicholas, mostly connecting to his close friend Naden, and also provided a conclusion with the Tarashi story, something that I guess was ruined by the Nicholas situation as well. But he's also the number one bozo, worst character in the entire story by far, due to various other reasons in their own right. But as I've expressed in pretty much multiple videos at this point, I can't say I care about this story point at the current minute. If this was to occur right after the Kang vs Purgatory tournament, or maybe just a little bit after, perhaps alongside the Zia G stuff, that would have been much better. Yes, it's cool to have the return and a definitive conclusion for this story, but I think it's just too late and we have more important and honestly interesting stuff currently going on that people would rather see. So I guess the fact that the fight is occurring right now is for the best, and I have to agree that both of their fighting style, their unique martial art, is quite cool to see in action. The last time we saw it, of course, was during the Okoye fight, one of the most wild of all time, with us seeing Luke seemingly land a shot about to paralyze one of the worm members' arms. However, we learn that the real Nicholas is actually superior, and the creator of this martial art, or the originator as the translation says here, highlighting that overall he should be stronger than Luke, and that's why he was able to defeat him in the past, something that could very well occur again right here. However, if he is successful, that's where Lu Dong is going to end up fighting, and he even claims that in this chapter, something which I believe is likely going to occur, with Lu Dong claiming that victory. So hopefully this sequence doesn't last too long, but all the stuff connecting back to Naden and the art throughout the chapter wasn't bad by any means, and getting a clearing up in a sense of that situation does make the Kang in Omega story in its entirety more complete, no loose ends, at least when it comes to this situation. So I've expressed my issues, I still enjoy this chapter regardless, and hope the battle is, I guess, somewhat interesting as it moves forward. I just hope it doesn't last too long, or this battle royale doesn't spend that much time on this battle, with there having so many other crazy ones that could be occurring, unless this arc ends up being over 100 chapters, which low-key I'm all here for. But when it comes to the official roster, there's no new eliminations. When it comes to the betting odds, there's no real adjustments unless you want to put more money on the real Nicholas. I guess that's possible, or the characters within the Kang story can put more money on the real Nicholas due to his performance so far. But that's really everything I wanted to talk about. Check out the Kang in Omega playlist linked right here, and that's it guys, peace.